I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
It's a latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos. And how are we doing out there? All across this great land of ours and around the world, it's that time once again for the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we are here at the Conservative Syndicate to do one thing and one thing only. That is to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. We're glad to have you with us. Great afternoon here out in sunny California. Perfect weather to end our week out here. And hey, we got a good show for you tonight. Bob Cardoso will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Jonathan Dunn, who was supposed to join us in the second hour, just checked in with me. He's sitting over in Ireland. I guess he went out and got some bad food today. He says he's got some real serious food poisoning, so he won't be with us today, but we'll reschedule him, probably try to get him back on next week. We just wish him well. Joe Hakos is off today also. He has a work obligation, probably this weekend, next week, from what I understand, has to be at his place of employment. So he'll be also be missing in action today. But, hey, I'm here, and sometimes that's just all you need to have. All right. So anyway, a lot of stuff going on. We're still trying, I've spent most of the week trying to make heads and tails of all the rhetoric and rancor and allegations and innuendos and insults and everything else that's been going on out here over the last couple of weeks. This week it kind of amped up a little bit regarding especially the Russian what do you want to call it? The Russian intervention or the Russian influence scandal. The media likes to call it the Russian hacking scandal, but we're still to this day have no evidence that the Russians hacked anything. We know that John Podesta's emails were not hacked, but they were phished, and he fell victim to one of those phishing scams, and that's how that stuff became relevant and public. There is no indication at this point in time. I'm here. You hear mixed messages depending on what media outlet is reporting it. That there are all these secret ties to Russia with Trump, and now we got wiretapping out there in the Trump Tower, which yesterday I believe was confirmed that it wasn't actually Trump Tower that was tapped. It was something else. It could have been something else, someplace else, and. This is kind of like Watergate on steroids, and even if it proves true, it's going to be even more devastating for the Democrat Party. Barack Obama did a great job of just destroying any semblance of credibility that the Democrat Party had, and I'm not so sure that was not intentional. He is a community organizer. He is an Alinskyite community organizer, which means there is nothing sacred other than the objective of advancing your goals and agenda. And if you have to do it at the expense of the community, the state, the city, the nation that you're doing it in, so be it. We do know that Barack Obama's sole or ultimate objective is to destroy this republic and bring about a European-type socialist, democratic, socialist, Marxist, communist hybrid type of government where there is a central government that makes decisions for everybody. So we know that. And the idea, I was laughing the other day, I was chuckling at the article out there that apparently through his spokespeople, Barack Obama is just livid about these accusations about wiretapping. And I'm just like, well, is this like Bill Clinton? Are you livid because you are being accused of something, or are you livid because you got caught doing something, or you may be caught doing something? Barack Obama was very good at deflecting and being able to stay out of the crosshairs for all intents and purposes. A lot of that, of course, had to do with collusion with the media and the DNC, which, by the way, has been taken over by Organizing for Action, Barack Obama's community organizing group, which is ramping up. And with the selections of Perez and Ellison as the head, the chair, and the co-chair, he's going to be guaranteed complete access to the DNC to further implement his plan to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Don't think for 1 minute that just because he's not on Pennsylvania Avenue anymore, that this guy does not have complete rule dominance at the forefront of his thought. And I've always thought it was kind of psychopathic, this need to build your own self-esteem at the expense of others. And in this case, the narcissism that I guess that, in my opinion, predominates this man's thoughts and actions and allows him to stand so cool, calm, and collective in front of a camera, in front of a teleprompter, is at the very core of his being. In that way, I find him very much to be in the personality of somebody like an Adolf Hitler or a Napoleon Bonaparte, the ability to just be as evil as you wish and make it look like, kick you in the ass and make you think and get you to thank him for it, that kind of thing. So anyway, I got a few minutes here before we go to our first break, and I want to comment on something. I don't know how many of you still watch Fox News. Many people fell away from Fox News over the last election cycle. I have never really watched it per se, meaning that every night I'm glued to the TV to find out what Sean Hannity is saying. I can almost recite what this guy says. He's never really changed his format or anything else. His delivery is almost always the same. He recites things over and over. So, he's the big draw, though, there. Bill O'Reilly I never cared for. I used to kind of once in a while watch it when Lou Dobbs was there. Tucker Carlson has worked his way up the ladder with the departure of Megyn Kelly to NBC, which, by the way, nobody has heard of since, or heard from since her departure, has taken over Megyn Kelly's slot. And I have been watching him the last couple of weeks on and off. Not every single night and not the entire show, but I've been catching 20 to 30 minutes of his show every night. Randomly. I say maybe I've caught about 7 or 8 of his shows in the last couple of weeks. Okay. That's almost 2 weeks worth, but you get my drift. And I got to tell you, there was a time when I would watch Tucker Carlson and I would think, this guy is a wannabe, but I think he's really evolved into a real hardcore confrontational type of provocateur. And I just get a kick out of the guy, the way he questions people, and he does not allow them to deflect from what he is questioning them about. And when they refuse to answer, he'll call them on and say, okay, you're just not going to answer me. Well, apparently he had an exchange with none other than George Ramos from Univision. Good old George Ramos, the voice of Mexican America. And Tucker Carlson was asking him about his, not asking him, but I guess kind of questioning his ethnicity. And it's an interesting exchange, and I think it's worth listening to, just because, one, how George Ramos tries to paint the picture that Mexico is actually the United States is actually Mexico, and Mexico is actually the United States, that kind of thing. And George Ramos is one of these guys out there, just total leftist, and really believes in this idea that we're one country, but we're diverse in the sense that each one of us, the hyphenated ethnicity kind of thing, that we're Mexican Americans, we're Latin Americans, we're African Americans, rather than just Americans. And that is the center and the crux of everything that drives the progressive narrative today, is that you're diverse, and because of your diversity, you should be giving special recognition for that diversity, whether it be socioeconomic preference because you come from a third world banana republic that's impoverished, or whether or not you should just be above the fray because you are who you are, that kind of thing. Whether you're a Hollywood celebrity or you're a jock or something like that. So it's interesting. I want to share this exchange with you when we get back from our break. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We're not arguing. We're explaining why we're right. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. Okay, all right. Let's get into the conversation that I was talking about earlier, just before the break, between Tucker Carlson and George Ramos over at Univision. I think it is very indicative, very demonstrative of really what it is that upsets a lot of people in America. And I'm going to be specific. What it is that upsets a lot of white people in America. And, when we talk about things like immigration reform and refugees and all the other stuff that goes on day in and day out, a narrative, by the way, that has been discussed for decades now. And I call it one of those recyclable issues because it gets brought up every election cycle. Obama used it when he needed to distract or deflect from something else that was the hot spot, something else that was going wrong, maybe something he wanted to do, an executive order he was going to issue or something, and there would be pushback against it. And then, you change the narrative. You go to something else so that nobody's paying too much attention to what you're doing in your backroom deals and how you're doing things underhandedly and unethically. And or when he got caught doing something, or somebody in his administration got caught doing something, immigration would be recycled and brought back to the forefront for some reason. Well, it was to distract and deflect from whatever particular issue Obama didn't want to have to deal with at the moment. And but we would be less than honest on this show if we did not say and did not affirm that a lot of what got Donald Trump elected was the fact that within the meaning of let's make America great again, he was talking to white middle-class America. And, that everybody has perhaps misconstrued that as being totally racist. I believe personally there may be some racist contentions there. It may be, it may have some validity. But I'm not so sure that it's more along, I'm pretty sure that it's more along the lines of the fact that Donald Trump knew what was going on in America in the minds of most Americans. And he tapped into that and used that to create his populist campaign platform. Now, we're seeing some of that looks like it's either being walked back, and some of it, I fear, may not even come to fruit the way that he promised during his election cycle, particularly repeal and replace of Obamacare, the debt ceiling here, which Secretary Treasury Stephen Mnuchin is just now saying, we need to raise the debt ceiling once again. One of the campaign promises of the Trump administration was that we were going to reduce debt. Trump himself has offered an infrastructure bill that is guaranteed to raise the debt and create more of a deficit. So there are aspects of what he campaigned on that we're waiting to see how this works out. Let's give him a little slack. We're for like 40 some odd days in. So, let's not be too quick here. But the point being is that for all intent and purposes, Trump tapped into the mindset of the average American. And enough average Americans that many of them voted after long periods of not voting or voting for the first time. And that is what drove his campaign. That is what put him in the White House. And so now when we talk about immigration reform, we talk about building the wall, we talk about banning Muslims, as the left calls it, instead of restricting immigrants until we find out who they are, that kind of stuff. You can have somebody like George Ramos inserted into the conversation, who was out there just basically, George Ramos is one of these people that believes that Mexico was robbed of territory that became the United States. He's one of those believers that, a good portion of the United States, the southwestern region, Mexico, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, is actually Mexican territory. He's of that mind frame, of that mindset. And so therefore, when we talk about illegal immigration, his stance is that no, it's not really illegal immigration. It's just people returning to their homeland. That's really, if you were going to paraphrase, if I was going to paraphrase it, that would be what the mentality of these people. We're not coming into your country illegally. We're just returning to the country from whence we came or our ancestors came, that kind of thing. And so he's on Tucker Carlson the other night. And like I said, I have really come to admire Tucker because he really has the ability to ask the question, allow the respondent to respond, but then if you don't answer the question, he comes back at you. Well, that what you just said may be relevant, it may be true, it may be, but that's not what I asked you. And he constantly, with every one of these guests that he brings on, particularly from the left, he has this same pattern. There's this same pattern of asking a controversial, provocative question and not really getting an answer, getting some kind of talking points. I mentioned, I think yesterday, the same thing with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan was on his show just the other day, and Tucker asked him, well, you know, what pieces of legislation have you guys passed since you've been in Congress or since you've had the majority, since Trump was inaugurated? You have the majority in the Senate. You have the majority in the House. You've got a sitting president that claims your party. Now, what have you done? And Paul Ryan never did give him an actual direct answer, danced around of listed things that Donald Trump has done, but not that the legislator has done, the legislative branch has done, or the legislative branch, I'm sorry. So he's talking with George Ramos here, and he says, I'm going to read you the quote here. I'm going to read you the actual conversation here so you'll understand what I'm getting at, and then I'll give you my comments on it. Carlson says to Mr. Ramos, so at an event several weeks ago in February, you said this, and I wanted to ask you about it, and I am quoting you. Ramos, this is a quote, I am a proud Latino immigrant here in the United States. You know exactly what is going on here in the U.S. There are many people who do not want us to be here and who want to create a wall in order to separate us. But you know what? This is also our country. Let me repeat this. Our country, not theirs. It's our country. Who is us and who is they? Whose country is it? And that's how Tucker Carlson is framing the question. He says, who is us and who is they and whose country is it? Ramos responds by saying, this is our country. It's yours. It is mine and it is ours. The interesting thing is with the Trump administration and many people who support Donald Trump, they think it is their country, that it is a white country, and they are absolutely wrong. This is not a white country. This is not their country. It is ours, and that is precisely what I'm saying. Look, in 2044, the white population will become a minority. It will be a majority country. That is precisely what I'm saying. Latinos, Asians, African Americans, whites, it is our country, Tucker. Carlson responds, well, let me just point out that you are white. Obviously, you're whiter than I am. You've got blue eyes. I don't know exactly what you mean by white or Latino, but let me just ask you again to explain our country, not theirs. Who is they? Whose country is it not? Ramos, well, many people who want to get back to 1965 when there was a white majority. Many people who believe that Latinos and immigrants and refugees shouldn't be here. That's precisely what I was referring to. So Tucker again, he comes back and says, "You're not answering my question. My question is, you say this is our country. Whose country? Not theirs. Who is they? Who are you and who are they?" And Ramos comes back with the liberal talking point. Well, it's really all of us, but you whites are on your way out. You know, and here's what it is. Carlson goes on to ask, he says, well, what is wrong with somebody who's making $40,000 a year being concerned about somebody who comes in and takes their job at $25,000 a year and moves into their community? What is wrong with that? See that really, Carlson transcends the question per se. What he's saying is, why is it bad for somebody to feel threatened about their livelihood, their identity, and their existence when there is somebody that can come in and displace them and have full support of the government and not support them? That's really what it is, because you know we really need to grasp this idea here, or this paradigm. The liberal position on government is collectivism. Collectivism means that everybody adheres to a central thought, a central paradigm, and their actions correspond to whatever that paradigm is. And so the best way to achieve utopian collectivism is to have among you those who are willing to submit to such an idea, such an ideology, and the rules and regulations that such an ideology produce. So if we say we want Hispanics, or if they say they want Hispanics, they want Asians, they want Muslims, they want people that are not of white ethnicity, they're not WASPs, that are not Anglo-Saxons, are not descendants of the British Empire, which, by the way, in the minds of many progressives are imperialistic and that kind of thing, very tyrannical in their own right. And so they want these kind of people because why? Because these people come from countries that have already either submitted or subjected themselves to the collective ideological framework and paradigm. Somebody coming up here from Mexico. Why are they coming up here? Well, of course, they may be coming up here to achieve prosperity. They may be coming up here to work and send money home to their families. People coming over from Asia, the same thing. People from Islam, who knows what the hell they want here? Because if their religion dictates they really shouldn't have everything that America offers them anyways. But the point being is some people transcend their own culture and say, no, it's got to be better someplace else. And so they come to America. But they come into this country with that inherent conditioning from whence they came, that a government can dictate to them what they should do and how they should do it. And they're okay with that as long as their financial status is a little bit better than where they came from. As long as there's a little bit more comfort, as long as they're able to take care of their families more adequately than they could within the countries they came from. They come from these countries, certainly for the economic opportunities that are here, but they bring with them their mindsets. And so when you have a government that says, we're willing to help you, we're willing to give you entitlements, we're willing to give you welfare, and we're willing to give you food stamps, and we're willing to give you health care, and all you have to do is adhere to our values, which is you make sure that you keep us in power, and we'll make sure that your family is taken care of. So that is what Ramos is talking about here. This is what Americans fear. This is what real Americans fear. It is the loss, it is the loss of our identity. It is the loss of our individualism. It is the loss of our rights to attain private property and to build wealth and to keep what it is we have earned, not to throw 80% of it into a pot so that it can be dealt out to those who just won't do what they need to do to attain the freedom that they want or the prosperity that they want. But all of this it's an exchange program. We in America, middle class America, work to do what? Support the lower class. All right, and certainly you can make the argument that to make the upper class richer. But that's okay. As long as we have the opportunity to become the upper class, we're okay with that idea. But the idea that the average impoverished person isn't really worried about becoming wealthy. They're worried about getting by. And so if any help, any charity, anything that they can get to do that is worth giving away your individualism, worth giving away those things that make you a unique creature in the eyes of your Creator, giving away your unalienable rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness for life and getting by. I just want to be able to get up every day and live, and I want to be able to take care of my family. But they're not really the type of people that think beyond that. And that is the ideal demographic for ideologues that adhere to collectivism. That is, you just let us run the show, and you'll be the benefit. You'll be our children, I'll be Big Daddy. That kind of thing. So that's what I'm talking about here. So We got to go to break here. We'll be with Bob Cardosa after we get back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
You know, sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway. But sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-766-0878. 800-766-0878.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-766-0878. 800-766-0870.
Now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hagels. Joe's off today, obligations at work, and he should be back with us on Monday. In the meantime here, let's hook up with our good buddy Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live. He should be simulcasting at the same time we are right now. So that's why you kind of have to wait for us to join. It's not like we can call our guests like we normally do. How you doing there, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing terrific. Good to hear you. It's Friday. It's clear outside. Or it's kind of clear outside anyway. It's been hot.
I was just commenting what a gorgeous day out here in California. We haven't had one like this in a little while, you know.
You know, and every once in a while, John, you get a day like this that reminds you of why you live in Southern California.
Exactly. I was in a meeting the other night with some gentlemen. I'm taking over a leadership position out here in the Conservative Party USA. And I had to meet with some of these guys online in a conference call. And one of them was calling from Connecticut. Ooh. And I told him, I said, I was born in Connecticut. I was born at the New London submarine base out there. And my family lived in Groton, Connecticut until I was 5 years old, at which time we migrated out here to California. And I was telling him, I said, Connecticut is cold. It is like cold. It's one of those places that's cold in the winter, snow and everything else. And I just told him, I don't envy you at all living in Connecticut.
Well, right now it's 37 degrees there. So, and so think about, where we're at. Nice. It's 81 degrees. It's just balmy. It's beautiful. It's not sticky.
Yeah. That's always been the difference for me as the humidity level. Anyway, I want to, I want to breach with you this topic of Obamacare. We touched on it last week a little bit, but before we do that, I see another red flag out here. I'm starting, all of a sudden, these last couple of weeks, I've been kind of now reassessing my support for Donald Trump.
Me too.
And I'm beginning to wonder if we just don't have something in the makings on the level of a George Bush here without, with better hair, I guess, or worse hair, I guess, depending on how you see his hair. But Treasury Secretary Stephen, is it Mnuchin or Mnuchin? How do you pronounce this guy? Mnuchin. All right. They spell it almost like a Filipino word. They don't put a vowel in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Mnuchin has called on Congress to raise the United States debt limit.
Yeah.
At its first
But you know what's interesting here? What's not only interesting from an economic standpoint, John, absolutely scary. Our United States fiscal year does not end until the end of September. New Year starts on October the 1st.
Right.
They're saying that we're going to run out of money by March the 15th or the end of March. We've got 6 months left in the fiscal year, and we're already out of money.
Yeah, I began to, the echoes or the ghosts of presidents past began to haunt me when I first heard of Trump's infrastructure spending bill. And I looked at that and I went, oh man, I'm not real keen on this. Of course, Trump...
Well, just the way it is now, John, if the Federal Reserve does, as I believe they're going to do, they're going to raise the interest rate next week. If they do that, then this additional budget that's going through, they're going to add right this year $1 trillion to our deficit.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Is there a political scheme behind the Fed raising interest rates at this particular point in time? Could they be, let's just play the devil's advocate here for a minute and just say, because all the other branches of government became so polluted during the Obama years, that we have somebody raising the interest rates for the purpose of hindering economic recovery? Is that a possibility?
That's not only a possibility, it's a probability. And you know what? This is the wrong time to be doing, at least in my opinion, this is the wrong time to be doing that. We're looking to make America great again, to take the words from Donald Trump. I'm not so sure that he's the guy that's going to do it, because so far things are looking a little messed up. But the truth is that by tying our hands this way and creating a tremendous extra debt by raising the interest rates, this is just tantamount to putting handcuffs on us behind our hands or behind our backs. This is just crazy stuff for the Federal Reserve to do in light of the fact that we already know we're going to need to increase the United States budget, which takes us way back into the deficit side. So when I say it adds $1 trillion, just the interest rate hike adds the $1 trillion. It's not even the extra spending for infrastructure or for the wall or for the military or any of those things. It doesn't count any of that.
Yeah, it scares the bejeebies out of me. I sit there and I'm looking at these signs. I'm thinking, all these years that the Fed held back on raising interest rates to give the false impression that the economy was recovering.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting here with the economy showing signs. The jobs report just comes out. They're saying the most jobs in manufacturing since the year 2000. And now all of a sudden, let's raise the interest rates. And so I can't help.
It's worse than that, John. Not only that, think about it. We had 235,000 people, new jobs that were created last month. And when these businesses, whether they're manufacturing businesses or service businesses, whatever kind of businesses they are, this is going to go directly to the cost of borrowing money to expand their businesses. What do you think that's going to do to the job market?
Yeah, it's I can see it as obstructing the job market, and that's why I'm thinking, when I hear people like Rand Paul, we need to audit the Fed and things like that, I'm thinking, maybe these guys are on to something here because, I'm waiting for the CBO to come out with their skewed numbers on Obamacare.
The CBO they have not put out an accurate number for I can't even begin to tell you how many years now. The Congressional Budget Office can't even give us honest, accurate numbers, not even close to accurate numbers.
Yeah, and yet that is what the media has the advantage of being able to run with that information because the average American isn't going to look at it beyond what the headline says, and so we're sitting here just another facet of trying to undermine and delegitimize Donald Trump's presidency. Now, if Donald Trump...
but John, let's just put this more in perspective. Let's think about what's going on. They're going to lower the tax rate for the wealthiest. They're going to lower the tax rate for middle America. They're going to increase the costs of health care are going to increase for at least the individuals, regardless of whether the federal government pays for it or the state government pays for it. It's you and me paying for it. And the thing is that all of a sudden our costs are going to go up. The tax revenue is going to go down. This is just absolutely unconscionable what these guys are doing. As long as there's checks in the book, they figure there's money in the bank.
Well, I agree 100% here because I'm sitting, I know what the pipe dream is. The pipe dream with Obama was that we were going to be able to subsidize health care in such a way that everybody was going to be able to access it, whether they pay for it or whether they pay for somebody else's. Now the pipe dreams as Republicans is a perverted form of Reaganomics. Let's lower taxes, let's lower revenue, and that will bring about affordability. We'll remove the borders so we have interstate commerce, and that in and of itself is supposed to be sufficient for allowing people to be able to access now affordable health care because competition will create that environment. And I'm thinking, you guys obviously haven't learned any lessons about what happened with Obamacare.
Absolutely. It just doesn't make any sense at all. You know what? If you lower revenue and you want to get a hold of your debt, which looks like it's going the other way, you have got to lower the debt as well. So your budget has got to come down to meet your revenue, and nothing could be better than to require us to have a balanced budget amendment. I don't know that that'll ever happen in my lifetime or your lifetime, but the truth is that's what we really need to have happen, require by law that there be a balanced budget amendment and stop all this foolishness that's going on. You can't lower revenue and increase expenses without bankrupting yourself eventually. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You know what? That's what we did to Russia during the Cold War. We bankrupted them because their revenues were down. We forced them to spend more money on defense. We bankrupted them, split them all up. Now we're doing it to ourselves.
Well, yeah, certainly. It certainly, I think it's pretty obvious there. I was asked the other day, I don't know if you've ever looked at this. There's a website out there called Quora, and it's kind of like a think tank. And people just put in their own ideas on things. And I was asked somebody sent me a question here, and asked me about the idea that what we have here is. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the article here in front of me right now so I can talk coherently about it. Here it is. The question that I was asked was, how are Republicans justifying the ACA replacement with tax cuts to the rich? Do they think the details of the replacement is fake news? Now, I want to give you my answer when we come back from break. If you got a minute here, let me read it. It's just real short here, and we'll go to break or respective breaks here. All right. I answered the question this way. To answer your question directly, they are not giving tax cuts to the rich. That is the fake news. I've read the bill, and nowhere is that stated. That said, their hope is that by eliminating state lines, this will somehow create competition and in turn lower costs through such competition, resulting in an increase of people being able to afford insurance through work plans and private purchase. This is, of course, a pipe dream because the government is involved, and they would just continue to screw it up. The answer is to remove obstructions for competition on providers, interstate regulations, and bring international competition in on pharmaceuticals. Delegate tax dollars back to citizens and let states develop their own exchanges through the ballot, not federal subsidies. Outlaw extravagant lawsuits by ambulance chasers. This removes special interest, reduces overhead, and allows competition in the free market to make it affordable. That's my assessment of what needs to be done, and I'll leave you with that. We got to go to commercial. When we come back, I want to get Bob's take on that. Is that fair enough?
That's absolutely fair. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, guys. We're at the bottom of the hour here, or coming up not bottom of the hour. It's commercial time. Let me put it that way. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back. There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring. Now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hoikos, who's off today. Let's get back with our good buddy over there at Robert Cardoso Live and give him an opportunity to respond to what I perceive. Opportunity to respond to what I perceive as the answer to reforming health care. Okay, Bob, let me just recant here just the last part of my answer here in this question that was asked by he was a young man. That's why I took the time to answer it. He was in his 20s. How are Republicans justifying the ACA replacement with tax cuts to the rich? Now, that obviously is a talking point of the left, and obviously that's what he bought into. I answered here that the answer is to remove obstructions for competition on providers, which means is the lowering the state borders, removing borders, which is being proposed, and bring international competition in on the pharmaceuticals, which I think is a key component, being able to drive down costs that way. Delegate tax dollars back to citizens and let states develop their own exchanges through the ballot, not federal subsidies. I think it should all go back to the states, including the dollars. Outlaw extravagant lawsuits by ambulance chasers, and this removes the special interest, reduces the overhead, and allows competition in the free market to make it affordable. Are those viable? Is that a viable plan?
It absolutely is, John. The only problem is that you're actually confusing or mixing the Paul Ryan and the Rand Paul plan. Paul Ryan wants to maintain this block of competition within the states. He doesn't want to open them up, and Rand Paul does. Paul Ryan doesn't want to allow you to get prescriptions outside of the country. Rand Paul does. On the other hand, Paul Ryan wants to be able to send these subsidies out, or not subsidies out, I'm sorry. On the subsidies, there'd be no tax liability on that. But on companies that provide health care, the people that receive that from their companies are going to have to claim the value of that health care as part of their income, and they'll pay Social Security, whatever's on there. But the companies that are actually providing that benefit, it'll be provided as though it was part of a salary, but not subject to those Social Security, Medicare matching taxes or unemployment taxes. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that needs to be fixed, which is why you keep hearing that this thing is going to be dead on delivery when it gets to the Senate. What we need is a reasonable mix of both the Paul Ryan system and the Rand Paul system. Something in the middle there is actually going to be good for us that would accomplish what both you and I agree on. And that is we need to open up competition. We need to get rid of tort law or the litigation things that are going on. We need to lower those prescription funds by allowing people to buy competitively wherever they want to buy from. And we need to get rid of this tweaking that makes it best just for the heavy hitters in the income rate. These guys have got this all, excuse the expression, ass backwards.
Yeah. Well, I agree, but I'm more. I found myself kind of becoming very introspective when I read Rand Paul's plan. He actually has submitted a plan, 4 pages long.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying his is perfect, but some of the stuff that I don't like about Paul Ryan's, I would like to see replaced by some of the stuff that's in Paul Rand or Rand Paul's. Well, that's difficult, Paul Ryan or Rand Paul. It's confusing. But one of the things that Rand Paul wants is the same thing you and I want, to get rid of the competition barriers between the states. Right now, 128 counties, or 69%, I think it is, percent of the counties in the United States only have one insurance option for the people that are out there. That's why we can't control these healthcare costs.
Well, there are some counties out there right now. I believe there's like 10 counties in Tennessee that have no providers right now. They've all pulled out.
Yeah, and that's what needs to. That's why I'm saying I don't think Paul Ryan's right, but I everywhere I think he's right in some things. I don't think Rand Paul is right. I've never liked Rand Paul, as a matter of fact, but he makes a lot of sense on some of the stuff that he wants. If we could get something in the middle, if we could get Rand Paul and Paul Ryan to stop competing with each other and put a bill together that marries the best of both of those bills, even in spite of the fact that we're still looking at Obamacare light, at least we were improving what's going on.
Well, the thing I like. See, I don't believe that individuals that when it comes to health care, that any income that they receive to subsidize that or whatever. I think if I understood you right, what you're saying is, if an employer is paying for their health care, is that going to be included in their taxable income? That's included in their W-2. And if they do not itemize their deductions, they won't be able to deduct the premium. Okay, all right. So this is where I just come back to the fundamental idea and belief that this has to be taken out of the hands of the federal government all the way. That's why I like the idea of repealing. I think, looking at Rand Paul's plan, it looks like it's kind of a shorter version of the bill in 2015 that he was saying, hey, we had a bill that everybody wanted. Why don't we pass that? Let's repeal Obamacare and let's pass the bill we were going to do back in 2015. And it looks like he just kind of took that and said, hey, let's kind of streamline it a little bit with the primary intent, of course, repeal Obamacare. And then these other actions will put the money back into the hands of private citizens and allow the states to develop their health care programs. And that's where it really should rest. It really should rest in the hands of the states. The idea of what Paul Ryan wanting to give block grants and all that stuff, you still have the federal government holding something over you. They still have the ability to do whatever they want to do with that. And I just find that based on our experience, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these things, they've never gotten it right. They've never gotten it right, and they never will get it right.
No, and they do have, when they're talking about the HSAs and the MSAs and those programs, they've got a pretty good idea of what's going on there, taking off the limits on that, opening it up to over-the-counter medications and medical use type things. That's a good idea, and perhaps using these subsidies to go into an HSA that can only be used for medical cases, whether it be for the premiums that they're going to spend it on, or for the actual medical care itself. Not a bad idea, because the individual is now making his own decision within the restraints of what the states put out. But if the states now open up the borders and let us have a free competitive enterprise with insurance, you'll see the costs of medical care actually come down.
Yeah, and then now the only question is how would the private industries, how would these insurance companies, those that love Obamacare, those that, in the public eye cry about it, but in the private eye are actually trying to fight it. The American Medical Association, AARP, these people that want the subsidies, because even though they complain about the paperwork and everything, they really don't think about it. And I know this from personal experience, they don't have to do as much.
Right. Well, one of the things that, and this is where I get a little confused. I forget if it's in Paul Ryan's bill or if it's in Rand Paul's. One of the things that they're doing is they're allowing individuals to join insurance groups to get the lower group rates on insurance, and it's mandated that you have the right to join groups to reduce your insurance rates. Where if you and I, as an individual, were to buy insurance, it'd be through the ceiling because we'd get no discounts, right? But if we belong to a group like AARP, using that as an example since you brought it up, if you bought your insurance through them, they've got millions of people that are in there. They buy insurance at the lower rates. This guarantees you the right to join a group and get those lower rates, which usually includes the pre-existing conditions. Now they're talking about, if you already have Obamacare and they put this new practice in, they're getting rid of the penalties. But if you opt out of Obamacare and don't buy something new and you get sick and you had a pre-existing condition and you want to go back in, you're going to be penalized horribly before they'll give you insurance for that again.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Hey, look, we're out of time here. I want you guys to take time to check out Bob at robertcardosa.com for his broadcast times and everything else here. I got to let you go here. We're running short, Bob. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, buddy. We'll talk to you on Monday.
All right, guys. It's the top of the hour here. Edward's Notebook and Pay Some Bills. We'll be right back.
I have said ever since Donald Trump first announced his candidacy for president that the nature of Donald Trump's presidency would expose the bigoted socialist rats like the ones trying to take down Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the Democrats are nothing more than a gaggle of bitter, disgusting patriot phobes, liberty phobes, Constitution phobes, low-tax phobes, Christian phobes, Trump phobes, etc., etc. They even recoiled when the president called to strongly go after terrorists and get them out of the country. The Democrats have devolved from just being the opposing party into obstructionists, or more accurately, deadly enemies of the Republic. But despite those enemies of our beloved America, she shall be great again. And we the people will be joyful as Americans in a land where God shall be honored. Prosperity will soon break out from sea to shining sea. In fact, much of the world will be blessed as a result of a renewed United States. If the Democrats remain embittered, bigoted progressives, they will soon be relegated to long-term irrelevancy as they from the sidelines watch America the Beautiful become and remain great for a long, long time. God bless America, and may America bless God. I'm Ron Edwards.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either.
Yes, political correctness is out. American exceptionalism is back, ready to re-empower our republic as one nation under God by restoring our unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, with your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet, baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts of the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos. All right, folks, we're back. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, who is off today. Work obligations, got to take care of business, got to take care of the family. That's the way it works here in America. All right, I hope you enjoyed the segment we did last hour with Robert Cardosa over at Robert Cardosa Live here. I think it's something that has given me pause. I'm beginning to pause a little bit about supporting Donald Trump just across the board here. There's been three things that have happened since he's gotten office that have really kind of concerned me. One, of course, as we mentioned last hour, was the infrastructure spending bill. It's in the trillions, I understand, if this thing goes down the way that he wants it to go down. Now, I understand that he is trying to offset that cost by using private sector funds to do it. The idea being, I guess, is that the government will do whatever they can to do to help the business, whether it be through tax relief or whatever, deductions or, whatever it is that they can dangle out there for corporations to be willing to put up the capital. And again, I look at this plan of Trump and I think, ideally, this is the thing that kind of has me worried right now about Donald Trump. Ideally, I think his ideas are noble. If we could get private sector to put up money instead of using stimulus bills like what happened in the Obama administration and the George W. Bush administration, that would be so much better. And I think in turn, if investors, corporations put up such money, investors put up such money, that of course they should be reciprocated through tax deductions or whatever, a reduction in capital gains tax or whatever it is that you can to balance it out. But I think it's a pipe dream to think that you're going to find that many people that are willing to throw money into the pot. And I think it's even more of a pipe dream to think that you're going to be able to do this without resistance from a government entity that wants their hands in everything, whether they're Republican or Democrat. So that's what my trepidation is from, is I'm looking at this going, Donald, you're coming in here with the ideas that an average American might come up with, but you're going into an organization or an environment where they don't think anything in a world like this, because they have their own revenue cash cows out there. They're called special interests. And so how are you going to be? Now, I'm sure maybe some of these special interests would jump on board with this. Some of these lobbyists would be able to go back and say, hey, look, we've got an in, we've got an avenue. All we got to do is put up some bucks. But I'm not so sure that some corporations want to put up that kind of money when they can get the same results by throwing a few $100,000 at a candidate during his campaign, rather than putting perhaps millions of dollars out there and risking it. It could work, it could not work, but it's an ideal, it's noble. I just don't think it's very realistic. So the infrastructure spending the way that Donald Trump wants to do this. For instance, let me add a real quick example here. I just thought off the top of my head here. Mitch McConnell's already saying, no, Mexico's not going to pay for the wall. Okay? That is the establishment thinking. We don't want anybody doing anything without our permission and without our hands on it. So that's what Trump is up against. Now he turns around this Obamacare replacement bill, And I look at it and I'm saying, you're just basically doing what Republicans always do. You're kicking everything down the road, hoping that you hit on the right formula that's going to generate the revenue necessary to make costs come down and make it more affordable for Americans. And then continue to exert control over the states through federal funded block grants. The federal government still has their hands in this. That is not good. The debt ceiling here, which I'm going to talk about here right after the break, the debt ceiling that's coming up here. I started to breach that topic with Bob, and we didn't get to that. We got distracted, but I'm going to talk about that when we get back. So these are three things right off the top here I'm looking at going, I'm not real keen on this. I'm not real keen. I'm not sure that Trump has hit the reality wall yet of what he's dealing with and who he's dealing with. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be back in just a moment.
Be afraid, liberals. Be very afraid. The Strident Conservative is on the air.
Hello, America. This is David Leach, the Strident Conservative. In September last year, McConnell and Ryan put on an election season display of cowardice when they shot down efforts to punish IRS Commissioner John Koskinen for his part in the IRS scandal that targeted Tea Party and other conservative groups. One conservative in Congress, however, refused to let it go, and that was Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio. After the 2016 election dust had settled, Jordan led an effort in December to have Koskinen impeached. Unfortunately, Ryan and McConnell shot it down again because they claimed it would disrupt the legislative calendar for 2017. I guess corruption and scandal isn't as important when Republicans are in charge. Although, to be fair, they did have that fake repeal of Obamacare to work on. Now we receive word that the IRS scandal continues, despite claims by Koskinen that he has been fully cooperating and that all the evidence has been surrendered. The IRS just stated in a federal court that 7,000 additional documents that probably contain information on how they targeted conservatives has suddenly appeared. Now who says Washington isn't a magical place? Amazingly, the IRS won't commit to surrendering the documents, which is why Jordan's effort should be revived. Or better yet, Donald Drain the Swamp Trump could simply give Koskinen his walking papers. But here are a couple of reasons why neither of these are likely to happen. First, Tea Party and conservative groups are hated by McConnell and company almost as much as they were hated by Obama. I'm sure Mickey is more than willing to let the IRS do the dirty work of destroying them. Secondly, Donald Trump has refused to release his tax returns, probably because they contain damaging information. Firing Koskinen could be seen as a breach of ethics, or worse for Trump, his returns could accidentally leak out. Welcome to GOP-controlled Washington. If you have a comment on this topic, visit StridentConservative.com.
Hey folks, John Matthews here from the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated The Conservative Syndicate. The debate regarding who should be accredited with defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results lends to its own insanity. Whether Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, or Rita Mae Brown coined the adage or not, its meaning is as true as the fact the sun will rise and set tomorrow. In much the same fashion, citizens across our great republic today are debating whether or not it is time to change course regarding the accepted established norms of our political system. Is it time to create a new party or continue to expect different results after electing the same people keeping our current system? Partisanship, corruption, and a desire to maintain power for the sake of power by those we elect, reinforced by decades of empty promises trotted out each election cycle but never fulfilled, has left America frustrated, angry, and rebellious to degrees not seen since the Civil War. The only viable solution is to quit adhering to the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is why the Conservative Party USA exists. The Conservative Party USA arose during the Tea Party Rebellion in 2010. It seeks to rectify the insanity that defines the consistent failures and corruption of the current two-party system by nominating and supporting candidates who are committed to imposing the conservative principles of fiscal discipline, restraining the reach of the federal government as outlined in the Constitution, and defending America's traditional family values. If you're tired of witnessing the insanity that dominates our political system, check us out at conservativepartyusa.org. That's conservativepartyusa.org. Now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. Joe's off today. We'll be back on Monday. Work obligations, got to pay the bills, got to do what he's got to do. All right, I just left off here before the break here, and a little dissertation, a little commentary on my sudden concern. I mean, I don't know if it's, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say sudden concern. It's not like I just have been a total Trumpster from the outset. I supported the guy because Hillary was the opponent. I mean, it didn't require a whole lot of thinking, a whole lot of reasoning. And as Trump got more popular, and I began to listen to what he was saying and realized that this guy does think like an average citizen, I thought, oh, maybe we have something here. Of course, we at the Conservative Syndicate always also prefaced our support with the idea of understanding that Donald Trump was going into the lion's den. He was going to be stepping into the establishment. He trumped all over the establishment virtually on both sides of the political aisle, getting to the White House, and upstaged the establishment candidate. Don't think for 1 minute that Hillary Clinton was not favored by the Republicans over Donald Trump. I don't believe that for 1 minute. If you do, you really need to just sit down, take a deep breath, get some oxygen to your brain, and look and listen to what happened over this election cycle. Virtually no support for Donald Trump from the Republican Party, and actually more opposition than support for Donald Trump from the Republican Party by establishment elites and operatives like Lindsey Graham and John McCain and all the rest of them. So let's not be delusional here and thinking the Republicans are just ecstatic about the idea that Donald Trump actually won the election. They have to now actually make it appear like they're governing, much more than they had to do when Hillary was or when Obama was in the White House. They could always use Obama as the reason why they couldn't get anything done. They can't use Trump as the reason why they can't get anything done now. And then such that being the case, that's why we have these things going on right now, these controversies, Russian hacking, ties to Russian officials, all the other things that are going on that the Republicans are just standing off to the side and watching silently to see what the outcome of it is so that they don't have to claim any responsibility one way or the other. So, if Trump wins, hey, so much better for us, no harm, no foul. If Trump loses, see, we told you so. That's what we're witnessing from the Republicans. So Donald Trump comes out and with this infrastructure bill I mentioned in the last segment, and then the Obamacare repeal and replace, which is really virtually a repackaged Obamacare piece of legislation, shortened from over 2,000 pages to a couple hundred. But the point is that while it does offer some things that we like, the idea of removing state borders, allowing interstate commerce and things like that, that is not the answer that will fix the healthcare crisis that we have in this country in terms of affordability to Americans. Scott Faulkner was on the other night and mentioned that what we really perhaps need to focus on is the industry itself, reforming the industry itself, not the process by which we attain or obtain healthcare services. We need to look at things that are going on within the healthcare industry, and if there needs to be some kind of reform, that's where we need to place our attention. I think it's a very viable argument. So anyway, this last part of it, the third leg of the stool here that I'm beginning to worry, make me worry about what Donald Trump is really doing, if he is in fact over his head or does have a level of naivety that is going to hinder him down the road or perhaps beat him into submission to the establishment. That's my fear, is that this is how it works out, that Donald Trump may be placing too much trust in some people within Republican circles, hoping that will garner cooperation and that he'll be able to do what he wants to do. Much like Obama appeased Muslim terrorists, because the idea is if we just let them know that we like them and then we're not their enemy, we're with them in spirit, then perhaps they'll quit cutting our heads off. Perhaps they'll quit blowing up our buildings and killing people. That isn't going to happen either. So either side, you can take the analogy any way you want. Maybe that seems like it's extreme, John. No, it's not extreme. I think it's a very viable analogy. But anyway, the last part of this thing, I wanted to close this one part of the discussion up here, is Mnuchin calling on Congress to raise the debt limit. Now, I'm going to read you the letter. It's not a very long letter, but I want to read you the letter because I want to put this in context with how we who elected Donald Trump expected him to resolve the debt crisis. The debt crisis meaning lowering the debt, removing the deficit, balancing the budget, and getting this government under control. They keep spending money on things that they know nothing about, and when it fails, they throw more money at it. And we, the taxpayers, pay for it. And that has been the foundation of everything that has been driving the populist movement that has taken over, or not taken over, but that is driving the conservative argument right now. And that in and of itself, I could go on and talk about that because I'm not so sure that's even viable. But another discussion for another day. All right, so Mnuchin writes this letter to Speaker Paul Ryan. I write to apprise you of the certain upcoming I write to apprise you of certain upcoming events and actions related to the debt limit. As you know, the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 suspended the statutory debt limit through Wednesday, March 15th, 2017. That's coming up next week. Beginning on Thursday, March 16th, 2017, the outstanding debt of the United States will be at the statutory limit. At this time, Treasury anticipates that it will need to start taking certain extraordinary measures in order to temporarily prevent the United States from defaulting on its obligations. Today, Treasury is announcing that it will suspend the sale of state and local government series SLGS securities. SLGS are special purpose Treasury securities issued to states and municipalities to assist them in conforming to certain tax rules. These securities count against the debt limit. The suspension of SLGS sales will commence on March 15, 2017, and continue until the debt limit is either raised or suspended. As in the past, it is likely Treasury will utilize additional extraordinary measures. As I said in my confirmation hearing, honoring the full faith and credit for our outstanding debt is a critical commitment. I encourage Congress to raise the debt limit at the first opportunity so that we can proceed with our joint priorities. Now, let me break this down for you a little bit, give you an understanding what's going on here. When we talk about, he's saying here basically that the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 suspended the statutory debt limit until March 15th of this year. What that means is there was at one time a debt limit, a statutory debt limit. And that statutory debt limit basically says you cannot spend beyond this amount. Well, they suspended that, much like they do with budget. Let me give the analogy, the comparison. We have a budget. We can't pass a budget, but we need the money. So what do? We issue a resolution. And the resolution gives us permission to spend money without a budget. This suspension of the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 basically says we're going to suspend the budget, and we're going to suspend the budget until 2017 of this year, March of this year, at which time one of two things has to happen. Either the statutory limit comes back into play, is reactivated, and the government cannot spend beyond that statutory limit, or they have to suspend it once again, much like issuing a resolution. Well, we haven't reached our budget. We can't come to a budget. Let's issue a resolution that allows us to spend the money anyway. Here what he's saying is if you guys don't suspend the Statutory Budget Act, it's going to enact, and that means that we're not going to be able to pay the debt that has increased because that we're limited as to how we do it. He then goes on to say they're going to suspend the sale of state and local government series SLGS securities. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, that has to do basically with how they fund federal pensions. What they do in federal pensions is that when they sell securities, that money then goes into the pensions, or they sell securities to pay out the pensions. I'm not sure of the actual intricate workings of that, but I do know that what the securities are what securities are what pensions buy. Just like an RRA, just like a retirement plan. You're putting money into the pot that buys securities. When you come to your retirement and you decide you want to start withdrawing, those securities are liquidated. Your shares are liquidated and you're paid the value of those shares. And so now what they're saying here is that what they're basically going to have to do is they're going to have to quit selling these securities because the money counts against the debt. The debt being, of course, what they have to pay out in the pensions. And so what he's saying is we're going to have to suspend this. We're not going to be able to continue to fund federal pensions. So once again, who's taking the brunt into that? You know, I'm not a big. I've worked in the federal government. I've worked for civil service. I've worked for the government, and I understand. You know, that perhaps federal service, civil service, is highly more overpaid than it should be. They're paid more to do what a private sector person does at a lower rate of pay, and they're not as accountable for what they have to do. Truth be told, okay, we don't have the same accountability, but the point being is that there's an action here. It's like what he's basically saying is we're not going to be able to pay our federal employees or at least fund their pension plans. That doesn't mean that people that are receiving pensions aren't going to receive pensions. It means that the pot is going to be deleted and there's not going to be anything put back in it to replace it. That's basically what they're saying here. Okay? So the point being is that we're now sitting here at the debt limit crisis again. Is the government going to shut down? Donald Trump is out there saying he wants to do away with sequestering so that the military gets the funding they need and everything else. Mnuchin's telling them, you guys are getting ready to surpass your debt, and you've suspended the rules, which means it's going to come back into play, which means you can't spend that money that you're out there talking about allocating unless you suspend it again. This is typical Republican operative way of doing things. Let's kick it down the road, because I guarantee you that's what they'll do. They'll suspend that statutory limit again, and they'll go ahead and raise the debt limit because they have all these things. They're all under the illusion right now that Donald Trump in the White House is going to jack the economy up so much through repeal and replace and allowing the private sector to grow again, reducing regulations. They're so jacked up on this idea that the economy is going to recover so quick that they're not going to have to worry about it. They're so convinced that we're seeing a resurgence in Reaganomics that they've turned a blind eye to the main problem and the main reason Donald Trump was elected. It's not to be able to spend more money. It's to be able to reduce what you're spending. It's to be able to eliminate needless bureaucracies. It's the ability to streamline agencies that may be relevant but cost too much money now. It's the ability of putting money back in the hands of citizens and states and taking it out of the hands of the federal government. That was the mandate that Donald Trump was given when he was elected. And I'm seeing three aspects of his action so far that don't assure me of the fact that that is going to happen or that is even the direction that Congress wants to go. So I'm concerned about this. And those of you who receive federal pensions, I'm sure you'll still get your money. But the point being is that if this went on for any length of time, what they're saying is the fund would be depleted and they'd have nothing to replace it with. Well, I'm sure they're not going to let that happen because I'm sure they're going to do this. They're going to suspend that statutory limitation, and they're going to turn right around and raise the debt limit again, and they're going to put us further in debt, and they're going to toss it down the road, say, well, we'll worry about it after the Trump economy kicks in and fixes everything there is to fix. This is not the way to do this. The idea of thinking we're just going to have more revenue to the way, what we're doing now is going to supply more revenue, and all this is going to reduce the debt. It isn't going to happen, because if you keep spending more, even as you're making more or as you're receiving more, you're still going to eventually come to that place where what? You're still going to hit another debt limit, and you're going to have to revisit this all over again. It's time for a break here. We're at the bottom of the hour. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be back in just a moment.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Are you behind on your taxes? The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
Sometimes when you compare prices on products, you think to yourself, what difference does it make? The rates are all about the same anyway, but sometimes the rates are very different. Let me give you an example where there's a huge difference in pricing between companies. Vehicle protection plans. Look, if your car is 4 years or older, having a vehicle protection plan is a no-brainer. The trick is not to overpay for it. Here are the facts. The average price of a vehicle protection plan is $2,800, while the price of a TOCO warranty vehicle protection plan for most vehicles is just $1,500. The average down payment on a vehicle protection plan is $299. With TOCO warranty, there's no down payment. The average monthly payment on a vehicle protection plan is more than $160 a month. With TOCO, the average monthly payment is just $49. To get a highly rated vehicle protection plan at a great low rate, call TOCO Warranty at 1-800-987-1519. That's 1-800-987-1519. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravotta from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294. 800-790-4294.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-766-0878. 800-766-0878.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-766-0878. 800-766-0878.
Now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right. Hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, who's off today. He'll be back on Monday. I want to kind of float in. We touched briefly on this in the first hour with Bob Cardoza over at Robert Cardoza Live about the job creation report that has come out. Now, everybody, from Trump on down is just ecstatic about this. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, see, this proves what we said. Once you put Trump in power, there's going to be a resurgence in the economy. And I believe that was one of the things that I thought Donald Trump would bring to the table that would be very beneficial to America. As I stated and have stated and will continue to state, my sole support for Donald Trump was based on the nomination and filling of the empty Supreme Court seat left by Judge Antonio Scalia of putting another conservative on the bench. We're still sitting there waiting for that to happen as Congress drags their feet. I don't hear anybody in the Senate hey, let's get this done, and they're not really saying that about anything else either. But that is one of my things. And the other thing was I knew Donald Trump would have a positive effect on the economy, because he knows how the economy works. So those were my two reasons for supporting him. I never expected him to be a big social champion or anything like that on social issues or nothing like that. I still don't expect that. Unless he wants to throw, Christian evangelical conservatives a bone, but I don't know that he'll do that. Anyway, the jobs report comes out, and I want to preface my remarks here by saying just because Donald Trump is in office, that I now buy into the idea that unemployment is down to 4.7%. I've never bought into that number. We'll never buy into that number. We have spent hours on this show analyzing and explaining why the unemployment rate in this country is completely bogus. We talk about fake news. They keep defining fake news as stories that are made up. We define fake news as anything that contributes to a false narrative that advances an agenda. The agenda under the Obama administration was that Obama was creating jobs, that Obama created more jobs than any other president in existence. And he did it all through government spending, infrastructure spending that never, by the way, got to a lot of the places it was supposed to go. So I've never bought into the narrative that the president creates jobs. It is the private sector that creates jobs. The only jobs the president can create is through Congress when we talk about expanding government reach through bureaucracies and agencies. Let's hire 16,000 more IRS agents. Okay, great. Now, yeah, you've created 16,000 public sector jobs, which are on the taxpayer dime. So the taxpayers are paying for those jobs. The government's not paying for them. The taxpayer is paying for them. So the idea that the government is somehow the equivalent to a capitalist who is out there investing and risking capital to create and make a business expand and flourish and become prosperous and profitable is a complete and total lie. So I've never bought into the idea that any president creates jobs other than public sector. What I have bought into and what I have touted and preached on this show is that what a president does that obstructs or helps the private sector create jobs does the private sector creates the jobs. The government can be its friend or it can be its enemy. Barack Obama was the enemy of private enterprise. He always liked to talk about rebuilding the middle class and giving jobs to everybody and creating jobs. That was never his intent. His intent was to create jobs that to some degree, or to create an environment in which private sector might hire somebody, but would not pay them a good wage, which then would require that that employee rely on the government for some type of subsidy, whether it be welfare, whether it be food stamps, whether it be Medicare, Medi-Cal, Medicare, that kind of thing. I forget what they call their health care program, but they have an actual health care program for the those that are in the low income bracket. Okay, so the idea was to create jobs that had to a level or degree some dependency on federal government to be able to equate into a standard of living equitable with somebody who didn't require government, who was receiving a good wage. So that let's not for 1 minute think that Barack Obama was into elevating anybody to any level of socioeconomic justice. What he was in the business of trying to impoverish people that were earning more and using their money to be able to subsidize those that weren't earning as much and create an equally poor, impoverished country that to some degree everyone would be dependent on government to make ends meet. That was the objective of Barack Obama. Donald Trump is of a different mindset. Make as much money as you can. Keep as much money as you can. It's a whole different attitude. And that attitude has resulted in Trump doing some things already by executive order, not through congressional assistance and legislation, but by his own pen and phone, been able to create an environment where employers and capitalists are feeling a lot more comfortable with the idea of freeing up money to invest, create jobs, and expand their businesses. So I find it funny that everybody's saying, or these analysts and these experts out there are saying, well, this surpassed what we expected. Well, if you were still gauging on what Barack Obama was doing, why wouldn't it surpass what you expected? It's a completely different strategy. Now, having said that, Trump being in office for as little as he's been in office, I'm not going to say that everything that equates in these jobs belongs to Donald Trump. But I do know this, and you can sense it by some of the things you're seeing out there in the media, by people not tied to the main lapdog outlets, is that business is feeling a lot better about things. And in doing so, it is willing to now step out and start doing such things as creating jobs and expanding their respective corporations. So that is to Donald Trump's benefit. That is to his credit. Donald Trump should be credited at least to that degree. But I'm looking at these job report numbers, and again, they're saying unemployment's dropped to 4.7%. Not true. I bet you it's probably still someplace around 89%. Because here's the other side of this. I'm looking at an article here from Miles Udlin up at Yahoo Finance. And they're talking, first of all, about how all these job numbers, how all these things exceeded expectations. But then they offer the liberal talking points as to why. Okay? 298,000 jobs created in the private sector, far exceeding expectations. This was attributed in part to unseasonably mild winter, which helped to boost construction employment. So they're saying, well, it was unreasonably mild, the weather, and so therefore more people were working construction. You don't work construction when the weather is bad, but because the weather has been mild, it's been better. Then people have been called to work and been able to work. Well, that doesn't explain job creation. It just means that perhaps people that are already working were getting more work, were working more than they had before. But it says here that 58,000 jobs were added to the construction center, with 177,000 jobs added in this sector over the last 6 months. All right? So I don't know why. Maybe it's global warming. Maybe it's climate change. Climate change is good for the economy, I guess. Why aren't people talking about it like that? Okay. Manufacturing payrolls were also positive. 28,000 jobs in February, more than the 10,000 that was expected by economists. Why? Well, because, as I said, people are willing now, manufacturing, willing to perhaps expand and bring on more people and begin to build their inventories, thinking that people are going to be more confident in spending their money. Now, here's the thing, though. They keep talking about Donald Trump touting these numbers about the number of people that are on unemployment. Donald Trump had said somewhere, I think in one of his conversations, press conference or debate, 90,000 Americans are still out of work. Okay, that's about a little under a third of the American population. Well, a little bit more than that, but you get my drift. 330 million approximately, 90,000 people out of work. And the left are trying to reduce that number. They're trying to reduce it by saying, well, those who are out of work, the great portion of those are people who no longer desire to work. You know, that you would put it in that I would fall in that category. Because when I was laid off several years ago, because of my age, I couldn't get back into the workforce. People were not willing to hire me because of my age and my experience. They could pay somebody half my age, half the money to pay what they would have to pay me. So that just forced me into retirement. Fortunately, I was able to do that. But that is what they're now saying, oh, that's because people have just quit looking for jobs. And they want you to believe that they've quit looking willingly and voluntarily, when in fact, many just quit looking because of situations like mine. Couldn't find their respective fields that were hiring. Weren't willing to give up being a chemist to become a Walmart greeter, that kind of thing. So, again, just remember when you look at these job numbers, remember the skews, remember the take, remember the slant. And, it's promising. Things are looking up. I think they'll continue to look up. But let's not get delusional over this one way or the other. Because let's not forget, we still have a Congress that is inept, I guess that's the word, inept, corrupt, and colluding against the American people. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Hey folks, John Matthews here from the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. The debate regarding who should be accredited with defining insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results lends to its own insanity. Whether Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, or Rita Mae Brown coined the adage or not, its meaning is as true as the fact the sun will rise and set tomorrow. In much the same fashion, citizens across our great republic today are debating whether or not it is time to change course regarding the accepted established norms of our political system. Is it time to create a new party or continue to expect different results after electing the same people keeping our current system? Partisanship, corruption, and a desire to maintain power for the sake of power by those we elect, reinforced by decades of empty promises trotted out each election cycle but never fulfilled, has left America frustrated, angry, and rebellious to degrees not seen since the Civil War. The only viable solution is to quit adhering to the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is why the Conservative Party USA exists. The Conservative Party USA arose during the Tea Party Rebellion in 2010. It seeks to rectify the insanity that defines the consistent failures and corruption of the current two-party system by nominating and supporting candidates who are committed to imposing the conservative principles of fiscal discipline, restraining the reach of the federal government as outlined in the Constitution, and defending America's traditional family values. If you're tired of witnessing the insanity that dominates our political system, check us out at conservativepartyusa.org. That's conservativepartyusa.org. And now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right, hey, we're back, and this is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We're glad you took the time to join us today, and just so you know, Joe Hakels, my cohort and partner in crime, will be back next week. He's got work obligations where he works at. Sometimes Friday they have functions and things that they have to go to, and that's what he's doing. So he'll be back. And by the way, just a quick note here. You know what? Visit our website over the weekend. We have some good shows, and we do some good stuff here. And we do stuff, I think, in some ways, much better than what you'll find out there in the mainstream outlets. And that's the big guys, too. The Limbaughs and the Hannitys and stuff. I'll never compare myself to Mark Levin, but I put myself in the same level as anybody else out there, aside from Mark Levin. He's in a special class all by himself, in my opinion. But anyway, let me close up the show today talking about Rand Paul's answer to the Obamacare repeal and replace argument. He is talking about Replacement Act, the Obamacare Replacement Act, which he submitted, Senate Act 222, Senate Bill 222, Rand Paul. And he, I think, has a closer idea of what conservatives are looking at in terms of the repeal, and if we talk about replacing. But you read Rand Paul's piece on here, his bill, and you can see what he's trying to do is he's trying to turn things back over to state, which is what we stand. That's our position. Healthcare issues like this should be put at a state level if there's going to be any type of government intervention. And at the state level, now it falls in the hands of those respective citizens and residents of those states to determine how much control they want to let their respective states have over their life and their health care. And I'm just going to read you some of this stuff. We got a few minutes here. I'm just going to read you some stuff because it's very simply written, very understandable, not a lot of jargon. And the average American, you can read this. You can find it. Just go out there and type Rand Paul's Obamacare replacement, and you'll find it on the web. You can read it in your own leisure. Now, he starts out by saying, effective as of the date of enactment of this bill, the following provisions of Obamacare are repealed: individual and employer mandates, community rating restrictions, rate review, essential health benefits requirements, medical loss ratio, and other insurance mandates. Let me touch on one real quick here. Community rating restrictions. You may remember, or you may not remember, but when Obamacare first came out, the subsidies and the amount that a person would have to pay for their Obamacare was to be determined by where they lived, by zip code. And that's what he's saying here. The community rating restrictions, the charging based on where you're at, because that was geared and designed to pander to demographics that were in the low-income neighborhoods. So they were saying, okay, that's going to be one of our factors that we factor into the actual cost, determining whether you can get government subsidies or not. So the community rating restrictions, individual employer mandates, rate review, essential health benefit requirement, meaning the removal of the government determining what the plans have to have in them. Remember, keep your plan, keep your doctor. How many of those were lost by people already insured because the plans did not fit the requirements by the Obamacare legislation? Remember that? Those of us that are over 50 those males of us over 50 that need maternity leave, things like that. Protecting individuals with pre-existing conditions provides a 2-year open enrollment period under which individuals with pre-existing conditions can obtain coverage. Restores HIPAA pre-existing condition protections. Prior to Obamacare, the HIPAA guaranteed those within the group market could obtain continuous health coverage regardless of pre-existing conditions. Bob Cardilsa, in our last hour, he was talking about getting your insurance through insurance groups, things like ARP or AMAC, places like that. That's what this addresses. He's saying by getting it restores the ability of people going into group insurance plans and being able to get insurance even though they may have pre-existing conditions. So, and then it allows people with pre-existing conditions to enroll, that they can enroll. Now, that doesn't mean you can enroll and you get a subsidy, or you can enroll and you get a reduced price. It means enroll based on your ability or willingness to pay whatever the insurance company is going to charge you for having a pre-existing condition. Now, here's one I found interesting. Equalize the tax treatment of health insurance. Individuals who receive health insurance through an employer are able to exclude the premium amount from their taxable income. However, this subsidy is unavailable for those who do not receive their insurance through an employer, but instead shop for insurance on the individual market. So you would think, okay, well, if you're not getting your insurance through a private employer or through your employer or an organization, that, okay, you're not going to be able to get insurance. But he then turns around and right after that says what? Equalizes the tax treatment of the purchase of health care for individuals and employers, meaning we're going to give you equal status. It just isn't going to occur the same way. If you're an employee, you're able to exclude the premium from your taxable income. That means you don't have to report it. However, if you're an individual and you buy health insurance, you're going to be able to deduct it. So it's just a matter of how you get that money back, By providing a universal deduction on both income and payroll taxes, regardless of how an individual obtains their health insurance, Americans will be empowered to purchase insurance independent of employment. More people putting more money in the pool, being able to deduct it from their income tax. Yeah, that will help drive down the cost, won't it? Furthermore, this provision does not interfere with an employer-provided coverage for Americans who prefer those plans. All right, there you go. That's just the first 3 paragraphs of this 4-page document here. And I think already I'm feeling better about it. I'm thinking, wow, this may be the way we want to go. We're at the end of the show, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless you. We love you. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net.
Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespasses against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Guide me to who you want me to help. Raise up more that will call upon your name. Raise up those that love you and seek you and trust you. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up. Lord, we need a generation of believers who are not ashamed of the gospel. We need an army of believers, Lord, that hate to be lukewarm and will stand on your word above all else. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up. I pray for unity among those that love you. I pray that you open their eyes so that they can see your truth, Lord. I pray for your hand of protection and guidance. Raise up a generation, Lord, that will take light into this world, that will not compromise when under pressure, that will not cower, Lord, when others fall away. Raise them up, Lord, that they will proclaim that there is salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. Raise up warriors, Lord, who will fight on their knees, who will worship you with their whole hearts, Lord. Lord, call us to battle, that we may proclaim you King of kings and Lord of lords. with all my heart. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hayko, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.